What is up guys, Wraec here with a new video, and today we are going to talk about Reinier. I'm going to explain his skills to you, and I will also tell you whether or not this guy is the first guy that you want to summon with Stargaze summons, and if he's usable at 1 copy or if you really need him at Supreme Plus or Paragon 4. We will analyze all of that, and starting off, let's just hop into some gameplay. So here we have a Dream Realm boss, and Dream Realm is one of the areas where he really shines. You can already see there are some circles here, circle underneath my Merrily and underneath the boss as well. What does that mean? Well, that is basically his skill Dynamic Balance. Dynamic Balance switches the position of two heroes on the battlefield that are in a symmetric position to each other. So my Merrily is in the same position as the boss. The boss actually covers multiple positions, but the game uses the center one, which is this one. And so usually it would switch the position of those two heroes. The thing with bosses is they can't be moved, so what actually will happen is my Merrily gets teleported to the boss in the 1 tile range, so actually right about here. This is in fact already a strong ability in PvP, which we will later test, as you can just basically steal an enemy hero right to your side of the board, remove them from the vicinity of any tank that could protect them, or take a healer away or something like this. Take a vulnerable hero, put them on your side on the board and just smack them. It's a great idea, works pretty well, use that all the time. In this situation we use PvE buffs though. We can move any hero in that slot and it will get teleported. We use Merrily because whenever the enemy hero that we teleport takes damage, this will actually heal our hero. There is a cap to that of 1000% of Reinier's attack, so in that sense it is a little bit limited, which we will see later on the healing numbers, but still pretty nice. Let's start off the fight so you can see this teleport actually work. In general, in a boss situation, Reinier's buffs work a bit different. Usually if you see his active skill, which you're going to see in a second, if that usually has a lot more effects than against this boss. Against the boss though, we deal a decent bit of magic damage. It is not too insane. He's not really a damage dealer there, though I saw him deal some nice damage in a boss fight. What we take him into the fight here for are actually 2 separate buffs that he can also give with Dynamic Balance, and both of which come from his X weapon. His X weapon enhances the skill of this teleport, and what that does is basically once he casts Dynamic Balance on an enemy, this enemy will take 25% more damage. And the nice thing about this is it isn't like, oh, it's 25% more fist damage or magic damage, it's 25% more damage. So this makes him the most versatile buff hero in the game already. Very nice. Beyond that, at the +10 weapon, the hero that we teleport takes 25% less damage, making it very tanky. So our Merrily will definitely survive because she gets healed, she's tanky, and when she hits the enemy, well, she does extra damage, so that's pretty great. And all of that are very nice skills, making him very great for Dream Realm. Though, for Dream Realm, we need a bit of investment. So you can see the damage is not really that great. Heal is there. It is nice heal. It is nice to just have heal on the hero you teleport over, making the hero a bit more tanky and stuff is pretty good. For Dream Realm, it is really the ability to make your heroes more tanky and the ability to debuff the boss that we use here. Sometimes there are situations where actually the position swap can be very nice. We saw that in the fight against the bear boss. Very great actually. Where we teleport Coco over there. If you haven't seen the video, I wholeheartedly recommend you go for that. So now I talked a whole lot about him, his weapon, the effects that we have there. You can see it here. Damage taken by 25% till the battle ends, and there at +10 the position switched allies damage taken is reduced, which by the way I would only recommend upgrading this weapon to +10. The extra damage at +5 and 15 is not worth it. +10 is a pretty nice sweet spot for it, unless you really want to upgrade the stats on him. That is pretty much where you want it. He already buffs your damage at +0 though, so I would probably either have him at +0 or at +10. Those are like the 2 positions where I think it would be good. But now this is like Mythic Plus. Pretty far back. Takes a while to get there. So what do you really have when you have him at just one single copy? Well, you have those first three skills. You have the mutual reflections, you have the dynamic balance, the teleport that we talked about, and you have the golden ratio. So you can already use those, and those have been a very big key factor early on for me in the game, because I went for Reinier first, and it was pretty nice, I have to say. So what do we get here? Well, first of all, mutual reflection, his ultimate, very, very good ultimate. Once you have it at 51, you actually enhance it for a very valuable aspect. I guess 51 isn't really that high, so probably most of you will already have that. What do we get here? So, it is a bit complicated. Starting off, when he deals his ultimate, he checks the number of allies and enemies on the battlefield. If the number of allies is bigger or equal to the number of enemies, he will attack one enemy and teleport this enemy to another dimension, and he will also go into another dimension. At this point, you will just see two markers on the battlefield. Both of those heroes will be gone for a certain amount of time, which is like 10 seconds, as we can see here. Is also quite the good ability for that. 10 seconds, it just seems like you think, okay, we remove Reinier from the battlefield, remove one enemy from the battlefield. What does that actually do for us? Imagine that. You are in PvP. Reinier targets the main damage dealer of the enemy, Vala for example. Teleports that to another dimension for 10 seconds. 10 seconds is a long time, feels like a long time PvP. This hero can't get an ultimate skill in that time, can't deal an ultimate skill at that time, and is just leaving all of the other heroes behind, which might be a lot of support heroes. So you can first kill off all the weak enemy support heroes until the damage dealer comes back, and at that point is overwhelmed in numbers and can just be destroyed by you. So your support takes out the main damage dealer. Great situation. Great situation you are put in, and before he even does that, you may have already used dynamic balance to teleport over the enemy's healer. And at that point you killed off the healer, he casts his ultimate, takes out the enemy main damage dealer, and suddenly you're in a really good position. One support down, enemy main damage dealer is down, and you only have to deal with maybe a tank and possibly two supports. So this hero can quickly bring you in a good position. The second part of it is if the enemy has actually more heroes than you. So in this particular situation, he can take out 2 enemies, which is crazy. Which is actually crazy. So in the situation that he takes out 2 enemies, which we can actually see right here, the mutual reflection works on extra enemy if non-summoned enemies outnumber allies by at least 2. So we have to outnumber by at least 2. And that is actually insane. We then only remove them for 7 seconds. But also in this situation, Reinier itself doesn't teleport to another dimension. So you just take out 2 enemies for 7 seconds, which is insane. We just fight with 5 heroes. He just takes out 2 heroes for 7 seconds, which is basically the longest CC in the game. Absolutely crazy. Absolutely crazy. On the later stages, we mostly only buff the damage. That is okay-ish, but really you don't really want it for the damage. Damage can be nice, but the main thing for you is that he teleports the target to another dimension. That is the crazy part. That is really the nice thing. Beyond that, that is our dynamic balance. We already talked about that, and you get the golden ratio. The golden ratio in most fights will feel to you like a heavy hit. It knocks the enemy up, which makes them unable to attack for, I think, 1 or 2 seconds, something like that. You will see it. And then he has some abilities here. Reinier senses satisfaction when each enemy HP ratio drops below 61.8% for the first time. No idea why that is so specific. And then you recovers 200% HP and energy. And later on, you also have the one Reinier shares satisfaction with allies when each enemy's HP ratio drops below 61% for the first time. So same ratio. And then we grant all allies 120% HP and energy. So if we can deal a ton of early damage to the enemies, well, then we might quickly activate this, get quickly to our ults. So that is what we're going to try in a second in a PvP example, and that should be fairly fine. So the hero focus itself is just an attack buff, for the ally and attack debuff for the enemy. You should upgrade that, it's pretty nice. And you unlock that on Legendary Plus. It is by no means game breaking. If you have a single copy, you have the first 3 skills, and that is already such a big part of his skill set that I would absolutely recommend using him even if you only have 1 single copy. Do you necessarily need him at Supreme Plus? Well, it is a nice buff. It is a 4% attack buff for the hero that you swap over. But really, I think it is not even necessary. If you go to Mythic Plus and you stop there, you are absolutely fine. Paragon is unnecessary anyway. And you are pretty much fine once you get him there. The only thing you have to consider or should consider is whether or not you want to upgrade this weapon to +10 and get the extra reduced damage taken, which can be nice in PvP. I think we just do that right now. Hop over to PvP, check out a team. We'll build a team around him. I have no idea actually what the enemy uses. I should have probably checked out that team so that we don't land on a map where we can't actually use that. I think we're just going to try to implement him a bit. Try to build something with this ability of the 61.8% HP. So we need an early burst for that. The thing is, we need to figure out where the enemy actually stands. So one thing we can do right this, would now take Igor, which is not that great. If we teleport this guy over here, we take his Roan, which is pretty nice actually. So that is definitely an option. Do we want to teleport over our Iron is the question though. Another option to teleport would indeed be Thorin. That is something we can do. We can teleport a Corrin over there. Something that I always did was a Vala. Vala was always such a nice choice to teleport over there. Maybe we do exactly that. And the good thing with a Hypergen or Celestial hero that we should add is he always adds to the faction. So even with those 3 heroes, we already have a buff. So that is one option that we can take. Let's probably just go like this. Let's just do the Vala teleport. That is nice. So now we take his Roan. We teleport that over here. Then Iron can take care of it. Iron will pretty early on CC the enemies. That will hopefully activate our Reinier. And then we should be good. Let's see if that actually works out. There's a lot of stuff happening here. Going to take the 2x speed away. We immobilize. The enemies take a lot of damage. Our heroes actually gain the energy at a decent rate. His Roan is over here. His Roan is dead. We deal damage to him. Our Vala still living is on the enemy side there. And basically that's it. That took him out pretty quickly. We can now see his active skill. Doesn't work for Igor because he's standing on those gravestones. And in general, there are some enemies that can have conditions where they don't get teleport. This fist is the golden balance that you just saw. Let's try this team against another enemy, because that worked out pretty well. In PvP, his damage is not bad. I don't even think we need the Vala, to be honest. Was just my first idea because I used to do that all the time. Let's take the middle enemy again. Let's take out Scalita. We have the Thorin here actually. Who do we want to take? I mean, I kind of like to take the Roan. I'm always aiming on the healer. It's kind of a nice thing to do. What I don't really want is my Arden to be attacked. I have no problem with my linked Iron being attacked there. We keep the Reinier. In this team we actually get to 3 buffs, so that is very nice. Now I took out my Carolina, that nearly ended in disaster. And this guy should be pretty tanky. So let's see what happens here. We mobilize again. They take a bit of damage. We actually activate the effect there. Our Thorin is now in the enemy team. And his Roan now tries to restore energy, but there is nobody there. So he's no longer standing next to the Cessia the enemy tried to feed with the Roan. And that ends up being pretty much a disaster for him. Will we see a teleport there? Wait, let's see if that works out. No, the enemy is dead far too quick. So, yeah, I think the hero stealing, that is something that became quite obvious. We use 2 abilities here. We use the 61.8% ability of him to get our heroes a bit of HP and some heal. No, some heal and some energy. And we also teleported over an enemy just so we can get an early kill and deny him any form of Reinier. We do one last fight and then we just come to a conclusion. Yeah, and this is actually a nice example. And this map is horrible. Why is this map horrible? Well, this map doesn't really allow us to teleport. I don't know why they made this. We have only one slot here where we can teleport because that is the only symmetrical slot. And that would teleport over his Vala. So I'm not really sure we really want that. We can't actually teleport this guy. So this map, I have to sadly say, is pretty Reinier proof. And we really don't want to teleport anything. So I think on this one, we can't really show him that great. We can attack Shrimp. Does he have anything that we can... Okay, we can try to steal his Heaven, though that often doesn't work that well. So for example, on this map, this guy was also smart. Put his Heaven in a position where we can't steal it. So here we could steal the Cessia, for example. Maybe we want to do that. So let's try that, actually. For that, we probably need to be in this position. And yeah, that steals his Cessia. Cessia, though pretty tanky, we'll have to see if that is really good for us in the end. The Heaven over there, well, yeah, kind of a problem for us. But we'll see how that works out. Getting to our ults pretty fast before his Heaven can even do something. Get the early nuke there. Got the knock down on the Igor, on the Thorin it was. And there we are. That is also quite nice. We have a very good attack range on the Reinier. And overall, he does pretty well. We have a few strategical options. Some maps are a bit immune to the stuff he does. But I think that was a fairly good demonstration of his skills. We saw basically everything. We saw his golden balance, golden ratio, which is the fist that comes from the ground. Fairly interesting. The mutual reflection didn't really get a chance to shine there. Often the PvP fights are over before it really can do something. If you need it and if the enemies are teleported, it will have a big impact. That you can be sure of. Golden ratio is pretty great. Dynamic balance is pretty great. And overall, if you get one copy of him, you will already have access to a big part of his kit. And even if you don't have Stargaze summons, 30,000 guild coins. Be active in your guild and you can get him. And with that, I wish you a great day. We'll see us in the next one.